I run a trailer search every morning, and it's like, oh, wow, like significantly less people are responding to me, or significantly more people are saying that it already sold. It sounds like it's like there's more demand than supply here. There's room for me in this market, right? Sure. Or maybe you find the opposite. This is saturated. I'm going to look at appliances. I'm going to look at furniture. I'm going to look at other big things that cause you to sweat in the 103-degree heat that most people don't want to do, or most people don't have $5,000 to buy a trailer. They're trying to flip $500 things. I think there's a massive opportunity to do that. Okay, as promised, this is Shannon. This is the second part of our episode. On this one, we talk more specifically about how to flip items, and we talk about the insecurities that we deal with as entrepreneurs, and we talk about our wives and how supportive they are, and basically structures that we have set up between us and our wives that help things go a little smoother. So enjoy this episode with Shannon, and let me know if I should have him on again. I think you're onto something before you even really knew it with data and buying a 6-bedroom house, because I was looking at buying an Airbnb years ago, and I got on AirDNA and I did all the research, and we put our home that I'm sitting in right now on Airbnb when we had to move, and it's 5-bedroom. Yeah. And I learned that, like, man, Airbnb, a lot of these short-term rental properties are getting crushed, but the ones that are huge do really, really well because you can split that cost up amongst 6 families, right?
Yep. Exactly.
I'm sure that's what you've learned.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Or unique places where we did a 1031 exchange from that other river property into a new river property because I want to be on the water. And it's like, okay, now you've got a 5-acre place with 2 houses and basically your own private river that runs right through it that no one else can access. And so that's the difference, the unique part that people will rent, and versus paying, or just renting some average 3-bedroom, 2-bath type place. So what makes you different is what makes you wealthy. Mm-hmm. And to your point earlier, it's harder when you're younger because you're taught that to go with everybody else and the crowd mentality, and this is how you go, you get a good job and everything. But as you get older, you get more comfortable being different and leaning into it. It becomes a superpower.
Yeah. But before I hit record, you were saying like people just need to learn how to make $1,000 a month, right? Do you think that is the big unlock to like rewiring your brain to seeing opportunity in everything? Or do you think even if some people do that, they're just like, meh, I prefer a job? Because I'm like you said, you see good deals and you're not really going to buy it. So you send it to all your friends. Like I have this toxic trait, you could say, where I have these W-2 friends that I love them and I look up to them, and I just know that they're killers. Like I know they're in the top 5% at their workplace, and like I just want them to own a business. It's like this weird thing, and I'm just, because I see their potential and they don't really see it in themselves. And I understand that it's not for everyone, and I get all that, but I just know if they were to taste it, they would love it. And so I have this mental list of like 5 good friends that I just want to own a business. And so we'll have lunch and I'm like, dude, I just came across this thing and like, I can't do it because of X, Y, or Z, but like, here's why you should do it. And I can see in their eyes, like, it's just not resonating.
No, they just kind of glaze over. Yeah. Like it's a different mentality. I do think the 1,000 is just an easy round number. How would you do it? How would you make an extra $100, $1,000, whatever it is? That's the big chasm that people, I think, struggle with. But and that's why I like starting with lower numbers, because it's more approachable. It's not as sexy, but I'm a big believer in the revenue stack. And like we were talking about earlier, like our podcast, I've done that podcast for 10 years. Does it make money? Absolutely. Does it make a ton of money? No, but it just adds up for a long time. It helped pay for my kids' school. It's bought me trucks. It's sent us on vacations all over the place, but it's a great rubric, but it's still a small number. You just have to see it happen all of a sudden. Like I never believed anybody would buy my book. Mm-hmm. And so I hired a coach. I spent like $3,500 and hired this woman, which is terrific. And she had written 30 books all around this same subject of like housewives, women at home, exercising at different stages of their life. It was great, really smart. And she's like, yeah, I wrote these 30 books. And she's like, some months I make $1,000 per book. And she had her royalty. She showed us. It's like, it's like $30,000.
So she didn't ghostwrite these. She wrote these like as herself?
She wrote them, but they were like 200 pages. It was not, it's pretty small. And well, once she had one that did okay, then she's like, well, let me tweak it. Let me do one for women that just had a baby. So she had similar content, different demographic. Let me do for one that women over 50. And so she just kept expanding that niche. And she's like, in some months, maybe I only make, $5,000 on those 30 books, but she had it. It clicked. And it's the same for me. Like when I published the first book and I started talking about, I had no audience. I didn't even know, I had nothing. And I had a couple hundred people that followed, but what I did with the book is, now it sounds much smarter, but it was just not. I wrote the digital version and I published that, and that was cool, the Kindle, and it sold. But then like somebody at Amazon, a rep, emailed me and said, hey, you really should make a printed version. I was like, people still buy these? He said, yeah. So I converted it to a printed, but what happened was all my images were set for a digital version. They weren't high res. And I didn't want to go through the whole book and change them. So on the first page, I said, hey, if you're buying this printed and the images don't turn out, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not a book author. So here's my email address. Just email me and I'll send you the digital version for free. And so
then you get their email.
Of course. And I didn't know this at the time. But now
you're doing.
Yeah, I tell that story and people are like, brilliant. Yeah. It's like, well, I really didn't know, but okay, I'll take it. So then printed version sold 10 times more than the digital version. I was shocked. And you can kind of tweak it. So it is that first little thing. Can you make it, X sent me a message, say, hey, you qualify for subscribers now, right? People to pay you for your content. And I'm like, oh, but nobody's going to pay me. Okay, but go ahead. I'll turn it on. And so now I have 7 people that pay $5 a month on X for my stuff. And I posted about it. I was like, that's amazing. And I was like, well, I feel compelled to add some value to these people beyond what I normally do. But now I start to think, well, if I have 7, what if I had 700 that are paying $500 a month? And okay, how do I just keep doing that? So I do think it's that you're just building this bridge, one board at a time. And I love I like your phrasing that it does unlock different areas of your brain that you start to see opportunities.
Yeah. And maybe the key is like earning that first $1,000 before you're 25 and your brain is fully developed, right? Because when I'm talking to my 37-year-old friend, like they're already thinking like director, VP, and so it's like, it's almost like they don't want to hear it because like they feel very compelled to the track that they're already on. And I respect that. But if you're 25, I think that makes a lot more sense. Let's talk about, do you do much on Facebook Marketplace? Because as you're talking, I'm thinking like, all right, location, asymmetric opportunity, asymmetric information. I feel like there's a ton of opportunity on Facebook, like looking at no other platform, only buying and selling all within Facebook Marketplace. Are you doing anything there at all?
No, I don't do anything. But I agree with you. If I was just getting into the auction space and I was buying like Costco auctions, I wrote a guide about this because every time I post about Costco, my account goes nuts buying liquidations. People don't know that they sell their excess products and stuff. And if I was doing it now, I would buy and I would repalletize and I would sell the pallets to other resellers on Facebook Marketplace. And I would go to my local swap meet and I'd walk around and I'd have my card and I'd say, hey, you want to buy pallets? I'm your guy. I'm going to buy the truckloads so you don't have to, because most people don't know how to manage that or they don't have the capital to do it. So it's like, well, yeah, I'll buy a truckload of stuff for $60,000 and I'll sell $1,000 pallets or something like that. I think that's great because, and I think Facebook Marketplace is amazing to do that. And I don't know, I can't say that there are not others doing it, but I'll bet you the opportunity is ripe because there's always people looking to buy and resell and stuff. And I think it'd be an interesting way to tap into it.
Yeah. As we're talking about this, I'm thinking like, all right, how could I use Facebook Marketplace to make money? So I love the idea, back to your location example, of finding like sister cities. So let's just say Dallas and Houston, even though they're probably way too big for what I'm about to say, they're sister cities, right? Similar demographic, similar unemployment rate, similar everything, same state, right? All that. So let's say I wanted to flip trailers. I would go to, let's say I'm in Dallas. So let's say I'm going to do all my research in Houston to get a baseline. And I'm going to see, all right, every day I'm going to log into Facebook Marketplace. How many trailers were listed for sale yesterday? I'm going to message all of them. How many of them have already sold? How many of them have not sold? How many of them are not responding? Put all that in a Google sheet. Let's find another sister city. Let's go to San Antonio. Do the same thing. All right, what is a normal baseline of trailers selling in a sister city? And then I start doing the research in Dallas, and I run a trailer search every morning, and it's like, oh wow, like significantly less people are responding to me, or significantly more people are saying that it already sold. It sounds like it's like there's more demand than supply here. There's room for me in this market, right? Sure. Or maybe you find the opposite. This is saturated. I'm going to look at appliances. I'm going to look at furniture. I'm going to look at other big things that cause you to sweat in the 103-degree heat that most people don't want to do, or most people don't have $5,000 to buy a trailer. They're trying to flip $500 things. I think there's a massive opportunity to do that, the research in comparable markets, and then just copy and paste in your market.
Yeah, I agree. We're surrounded by opportunities. The key is the mindset. I know it sounds kind of cliche or cheesy, but it is that. Willing to put your time in to spend a little bit of money, and then looking at these opportunities in maybe a different way, well, certainly a different way than other people would. That's huge. When I was in college, I was buying storage auctions. This was way before Storage Wars. And they'd roll the door up and you could kind of look in. And one of the best deals I ever bought, it was like a woodworking business or something. And And as I was sitting there, I was listening to people talk about, that saw is worth $500, and these tools are worth, that's like $1,000. And so I sat there, and then the bidding started. And nobody was bidding. It was a lot of stuff. And I was just, and it was my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife. I said, why? I don't get it. And I was like, well, okay, I'll bid $100 or whatever. And okay, then a couple people got going, and I bought the whole storage locker for like $500. And then I immediately was like, I don't think I had $500 at the time. So I walked over to the guy that wanted to buy that saw for, $300-400. I said, do you want to buy that saw? And he's like, yeah. And so he gave me the cash right then. And so before we were even done, I had made money on the stupid thing, but because so I was just delusional enough to think that I could fit all this stuff in my truck, and I had to make a bunch of trips, and it was a pain in the butt. It was sweating, and I didn't know what I was going to do, but that deal turned out amazing for a college kid, and yeah, I don't know what I made on it, but thousands of dollars. So don't take for granted that everyone's figured things out, because they haven't. Yeah. Because most people ignore things. When I post about those stupid trailers, I get ripped apart in the comments about, Shannon, this will never, they're so beat up, yada, yada. Of course, there's a reason why they're there, but that's the problem to solve. How do you solve that problem? And that's the fun part.
Yeah, I like saying only listen to the haters if they know more about that industry than you. Otherwise, just let it be a chip on your shoulder, right? So if you have a quote hater show up in your comments like, dude, okay, first of all, I assisted in the process of these FEMA trailers. They have significant black mold issues. The remediation cost per unit is $7,000.
You got it.
It's like, okay, you know what? Yeah. That's really good information. You just saved me. Thank you. But if it's like, oh, these would never sell, like, shut up. Like, give me your evidence.
Right. Well, I love the phrase, haters are just fans in denial.
Yeah.
And they fuel your stuff. They fuel you as well. Success is the best revenge. And talking about this stuff, I love it because it's some kooky idea that you followed down the rabbit hole, and you're like, well, it's like the watch business. I don't know anything about watches, but I know about deals, and I have a good reputation. And one day I got a call. I was like, hey, we lost this buyer, and this is a sensitive product for us. We're not this massive mega corp. They were really worried that these return product were going to wind up back at their stores. People would buy it and then take it back and try to get a full refund or something like that. And so they wanted it handled a certain way. And it was problematic, but I was like, I looked at the spreadsheet. I was like, all right, let's figure it out, because I just felt there was an opportunity. And then you have to go to New York, and you have to walk the jewelry district, and you're just like, meeting all these people that are looking at you like, oh, this is a scam, whatever it is. And you have to make a bunch of phone calls till I finally met a couple of Russian guys that they looked at me and like, okay, well, let's fly out. They flew out to me to see this product. And I was like, here it is. I've already spent a bunch of money on this, and I don't know what to do with it. I don't want to sell it. We tried to sell some consumer, but it's a rough business. And so, we were selling watches that some of them that would have altimeters in them, and
Mhm.
people would get it, buy it, be happy, but then they'd go on a plane flight and they'd come back and say, "Hey, the altimeter's off. I want to return it." And it's like,
Like, no,
what?
you went up 35,000 feet.
Yeah, I don't know how to test for this, So it was a very
Yeah.
difficult problem or product to test for. But once I met this whole other guy, I figured, you know what? I'll let them make money on me. I just
Mhm.
will take a very small percentage to manage logistics and finances and the relationship. And it's been an amazing business. And like I said, I posted on X, it's an $8 million side hustle. And I've done a lot more than that, but we did it on a handshake. And if I hadn't taken that first back when I was in my 20s to figure out how I could do it and see that it worked and that reality is truly flexible, I never would have taken that $8 million deal because I'd
Yeah.
be like, oh, what could go wrong? Like you said, what if the package gets lost or what? I mean, the what ifs are just, you got to get rid of that stuff and get past it.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the watch business because I think that's another big opportunity in just reselling things is finding the happy medium between ticket size and like volume of buyers, right? Because if you sell t-shirts, there's 100 million buyers out there, but you got to sell 100 million t-shirts. Whereas if you sell golf carts, right, you could make 2,000 per golf cart, but there's only so many golf cart buyers. And so I also like the idea of doing what you did with the watches and doing the research to find that sweet spot. Like, okay, every sale will net me 4 figures. And this actually is a bigger market than I thought. That's what we did with Bitcoin miners. We were selling these $15,000 miners, but because of the market conditions at the time, there was a lot more demand than supply, right?
Yeah.
So I like the idea of starting with $1,000, working your way up, and then finding the higher ticket items, because once again, there's much less buyers at the higher ticket sizes, and then flipping those things with the exact same principles that you learned at the lower ticket size.
It's training your brain. One of the biggest iPhone deals I ever did that was like 95,000 iPhones. And it was just massive. And the logistics and the finance and the management and the security and finding buyers and dealing with, it's overwhelming if you really sit and try to think about it all. But because I'd done it for 20 years, it was just another deal. Mm-hmm. And when I was in college, there was a thing, I went to Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo, and every Thursday there would be this it was called the Easy Ad. I don't know. Some people, you may have one called the Penny Saver.
Penny Saver.
Like yeah, Penny Saver. Similar kind of thing. People would put just text ads in there. This was pre-web, and so every Thursday they'd come out and then they'd get distributed all over the county. I was living with a couple of guys that were into cars and trucks. And I was like, well, I got a little bit of money. Maybe we can buy and flip some trucks. And one guy had a painting set up. So it was like, well, we could buy these trucks, paint them real quick and resell them. It's like, well, what's the angle? Well, it turned out the angle was the Easy Ad got put in their office lobby a few hours before they went out everywhere else. And so we would just go sit in the Easy Ad office Thursday at 9 a.m., me and two other guys. We just hang out. And then they'd come out, they'd drop a big stack, and we'd be like, oh, this person, that's a deal. This person underpriced this. And then we get on the phone and we're like, hey, can we come over right now?
We'll be there right now.
You show up right now. We show up, you have cash. We would buy the truck, and we would buy maybe 1 or 2 a week, but we never registered them in our name. It was like flip. We never, it was lots of risk, but you're young. Yeah. But stupid risk. I wouldn't do it now. But that the mindset is, where's the unfair advantage? Mm-hmm. Well, the unfair advantage was we just figured out that they dropped them there early just by randomly going, hey, what time do they come out? And they were like, well, most places get them at 2:00, but if you come to our lobby, we bring them out usually about 10 or 11. And I did that business for all during school. So your brain is really a muscle. We're moist robots. So you're that learning. And I encourage you to do it as young as you can. But if you're older, you still can do it.
Yeah.
But you should start small and do things that are not crazy.
Yeah.
Until you build this foundation of stuff.
And what's interesting about that example, which I freaking love, and like almost every business I've started, people ask me like, could you still do that today? Almost every time it's yeah. actually. Like you could still do that today. Like the easy edit, you might not be able to do that, but like I could go to ChatGPT and tell them that story and say, what are 10 different examples of ways that I could use asymmetric information that are different than this? Like you could pay a VA $3 an hour to sit on Facebook Marketplace all day and just hit refresh and say, every time you see a trailer that's a box trailer in this zip code, message them this.
Yes.
Say, I will be there in 10 minutes. Like
exactly.
you could still do all these principles just in different ways or even the same ways.
Absolutely. There's guys that do this same concept with jewelry on Craigslist, and it's all automated, and it's it picks up these certain terms of people selling stuff, and it goes up and it does the whole thing. And they're like, hey, we'll send you a label. They email prepaid labels like instantly to these people to get them to send their gold to them. You know, so I say we're surrounded by opportunity if you kind of look at it sideways.
You've got to be curious.
And you cannot be a consumer your entire life. You just can't. And you cannot pay retail. That's another training. You just got to find, and sometimes, it's more work. Like I wanted to shed for this river property. I was like, I go to Costco. It's like, that shed's perfect, but it's $1,500. But I'm just like, I just can't do it. I can't pay $1,500. So I get on the Costco auction site and I just look. I look every day. It's part of my routine. And for big stuff, I only look that's near me in California and everything. So I look, sure enough, here comes an auction with 2 brand new sheds. I was like, I'm going to buy that. And I said, I can use both sheds or I'll sell one. And I bought both sheds for $1,500 instead of buying one shed for 15, so yes. Was it a pain? And I live on this house on a hill in California. You can't get a semi truck. I don't have a warehouse anymore. I got rid of it. So I have to drive down the hill and transfer to my truck and everything. But the whole time in my head, I'm just like, I saved, $1,500. And this is sweet. And I tell this story. It's part of my story. I'm a huge fan of coming up with the story.
It's your brand.
It's finding deals. And so I tell the story all the time to my friends. They're sick of hearing it, I'm sure. Oh, I got I picked that up here. I bought this here. I bought this house here. I did that, whatever. I love it. It feels great and it fuels me. And the story concept, I tell people to tell the story in reverse. Think about what story you want to tell when you're older. And I visualize it sitting around a campfire. I love sitting around the campfire. What stories do you want to tell? And how are they cool and different and unique? And people kind of sets them back like, you did what? You bought this? Wait, how did that work? And da-da-da. That's fun, man. That makes you the storyteller. So if you can figure out that reverse storytelling concept draws you to that end result that you want. Right? Yeah. It's like visualization or whatever, but I just,
Yeah, when we started the Bucky's business, my partner and I
love that business, dude.
Thanks. Like, let's walk into Bucky's, let's buy one of everything, and then we'll email reporters. And he's like, well, what if they sue us? I'm like, if they sue us, we'll have a good story. If we fail, we have a good story. If it succeeds, we've got a great story. Like, I always think about that. Like the other night, I picked up my mom from the airport in Salt Lake. We had an hour to kill. So my family, my mom and my sister, we went on a walk around this trail, and it was like on the airport property behind this barbed wire fence, but it was an actual trail. And there was a sign that said it closed at 10. And long story short, we got lost, and I was really afraid the gate would lock us in. Man. And like planes were flying overhead, and it was hectic, but like my kids were loving it. I was loving it. And I ended up having to sprint full speed in my Crocs back to this gate because I was afraid it would lock at 10. And I got there at 10 exactly. And I wanted to prop the gate open so they could take their time and walk back. So I got there at 10 exactly. 6 minutes later, they walked back. We were all laughing, having a great time. And then we went to leave. I closed the gate, and my wife was like, hey, check the gate, see if it ever locked. And it did. And like,
really,
it was dark, Salt Lake. Yeah. No one would have known we were back there. I was like, I even said, I was like, that would have been such a good story. Oh man, I kind of was mad that we didn't get locked in there.
It is. It's amazing. When I bought that river property, that was the problem, and negotiated that deal. And my wife, I bought it she'd never seen it other than pictures. And she gave me here, it has to meet all these requirements before I'm on board with it. I'm like, great, no problem. But I can remember sitting outside around the campfire when we closed escrow. And I said, if this deal happens the way I'm thinking it might, I will never stop telling this story about it. Because after I walked out of this, I had a meeting with the guy from it's like Department of the Interior that wanted this house. And he gave me so much great information, what they were willing to pay for it, the whole 9 yards, but it would just take a long time for them to buy it. And I walked out and had a contractor buddy with me. And the first thing I said was, doesn't that sound like a free house to you? I just need to tie up some money for a while. But
the government wants to buy it.
Yeah, they're telling me I've got a buyer, and nobody would listen to me. Everybody's like, it's not going to happen. Even my wife, who's super supportive because I've done it a bunch of times. And now I tell that story all the time. I was like, let me tell you how to go buy it. Find a property that's just a nightmare that has some weird thing and da da da. So yeah, the story thing is powerful for me. It gives me energy. It makes me feel unique and different. And like we talked earlier, as you get older, that's a superpower.
That's amazing. Well, let's wrap this up with two questions. I want to ask about your wife and like, is she the type, and has she always been the type to just naturally like trust you and go along with you? Or is she still very hesitant, or did you kind of have to get her there with all these crazy ventures?
Yeah. So she worked, like we lived off her W-2 when we first started. I started the business and we didn't make any money, and we put all the money back into the business. And it was 10 years into this entrepreneurial journey before I was starting a new company, and a partner that I had met years before. We always talked about starting a business, and he came up, he had met my wife several times, and he said, hey, okay, I'm all in, but the one requirement is I want Renee to handle the money, my wife. And I was like, I'd never thought about working with my wife before like this, but we had this long discussion about it. She was going to be in charge of a completely different area. We wouldn't be interacting as like day to day. And she had seen enough success. She was behind me. Now, before she started working, like I've made a ton of mistakes, right? I mean, I lost $1 million. I made a decision one day that cost me $1 million. I got sued, and you're talking about getting sued, all that kind of stuff. I got involved with a group of folks that it was just stupid. If you want to read it, just go on X, just Shannon Jean, and you can read. I posted about it, and I had to go home and tell my wife that I just lost $1 million. And I remember because we had a little baby girl, and she was giving her a bath and everything, and she's in the bathroom, and I said this, and I can remember there were tears, but the comment she made that I just will never forget was, she was like, all right, well, you better figure out how to pay that $1 million back. It wasn't screaming, yelling, you this or that. So she's always been in my corner. And once I did figure out how to pay that $1 million back while I was still growing these other companies, I think we both felt pretty empowered. So yeah, she's been, there's definitely, when the letter from the IRS shows up, she always comes up and goes, these make me nervous.
Yeah. I get a lot of letters from the IRS.
Of course you do. And we've had the sales tax police are worse than the IRS. And before we had when I was young and I didn't understand business structure as much, we had our account seized because I was late on sales tax or this kind of stuff. So yeah, she got eased into it as well. Right. Mm-hmm. So yeah, but she's always been in my corner, and it takes a unique person, male or female, to be behind you. But I always had a foundation that she always said, I always know you can make money. And it was hard. And sometimes she'd be like, you could be successful working for somebody else too. And I was like, oh, that sounds like such a nightmare. I'll figure this out. And so
yeah,
making this step to being like this crazy entrepreneur starts with the foundation of, well, I have this business that generates this much money. It gives me a check. I don't want to be involved in it anymore once it's in maintenance mode. But now I can go take another swing at the fences because I know I've got a 6-figure income right here that pays our bills and going that kind of thing.
So if you come to her today with a harebrained idea, and whether it's a big risk or not, does she ask like, all right, well, let's talk about this. Let's walk through this. Or is she just like, sounds good. Let me know how I can help. Well, where is she on that spectrum?
She asks lots of questions. I mean, like when I brought her the house on the river that every house on the
Mm-hmm.
street had burned down in a fire, and our house was close to the river, and every house was gone. And so I was like, this will be great because we're going to buy this and there's going to be a bunch of brand new houses and it's going to raise the value. So she, like I said, she came up with these 10 points. She's like, okay, if you do this, if you answer this, satisfy this, can you find somebody a housekeeper to manage it when they're gone because they're going to rent it out, this, and this. So she's very savvy. She's the one that, like, I like to play craps. I'm not a huge gambler, but if I go, I'm like, oh, let's play craps. She'll come by the craps table and she'll look at my chips and she'll just take some. And in the beginning, when we were younger, I was like, she's going to go gamble with this.
She's
money.
like, it's like putting your money in savings. Basically.
Exactly. She's taking the money because she's like, okay, how much? She goes, how much did you start with? I'm like, I don't know, $500, $1,000. Okay, great. And then she'll come by like another 10 minutes later, and then once she's gotten my money back, that $500, $1,000, whatever, she'll go, hey, go crazy. Do whatever you want because you're playing with the house money, right? But she's taken that money and gone and cashed it in and put that $1,000 back in her pocket. So I always joke, like, I know how to make money. My wife's much better at building wealth. It's taking money off the table and saying, hey, yeah, you could take that invested in a new business, but let's go invest a bunch of money in Tesla or let's build a good portfolio in the market and get some financial advice. And I'd be like, that's boring.
I just put me to sleep, babe.
Yeah, I could make 30x with that money this year. She's like, you could, but let's start another path at the same time, which is played out remarkably well.
Yeah. So you're over here trading options and she's buying bonds, and it's a good balance.
Yeah. Yes. It's a balance. So
I like that.
Having your spouse on board, whatever system works for you. And with my wife, I think it's the more information I can provide to her, the better. And I'm doing that right now. I'm really building a business up on X and building a brand and trying to productize my knowledge. And I'm having to educate her about why it's awesome that I got 300,000 views of this post about the bat houses on the side of my house. She's like, well, that's not relevant. I'm like, it really is, this kind of stuff. So it's good. It keeps us connected too, which is cool.
Yeah. Okay. Last question. So I have this theory that basically everyone is driven by their insecurities, for better or worse, right? Like someone who's homeless or they've had a really rough life, like insecurities drive them to make bad decisions, just like maybe Steve Jobs or Elon Musk. They're driven to make business decisions that build wealth because they've got daddy issues. Maybe their dad abandoned them and it's an insecurity. And I feel like anyone's insecurity can drive them to do better or worse things. And the differentiator is, do we have self-awareness of that insecurity? So my question to you is, what are your insecurities, and like either currently or in the past, like what have you had to overcome? What's like in the back of your mind that kind of drives you with regards to an insecurity?
I have a massive fear of failure. Even though I fail frequently, I have fear of being seen as a failure by other people. I care what other people think. I don't,
Same.
It's not, we try to say that and it's, you should never care. I care. I care what my wife thinks. I care what my kids think. I care what my neighbors think. I care. And I want to be perceived as successful. My insecurity, fear of failing, has been the rock on my gas pedal forever. I also have a big insecurity about money, in the sense that I'm super intimidated by people that have built wealth by working for other people. I don't know how they did it. And I'm almost like, wow, man, like they may just be as interested in my crazy stories of building wealth, but I'm just like, dude, I don't want to do it, but I don't want to wear a suit, but I'm intimidated by guys that wear suits. I don't know how to get around it. And like when I sit in a corporate room, conference room with people I'm trying to do deals with, they're like a different animal to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm pretty good at pacing and leading with persuasion and connecting with people. But inside, I am intimidated with these people because I'm a shorts and t-shirt guy, right? I mean, I put a collar shirt on for you today.
Yeah,
but,
same. Likewise.
Right. So those are my insecurities and the things that cause me anxiety. But at some point, and I think it was when I was young, I learned to put those behind me to push me forward instead of having them in front of me to hold me back. And I think maybe it was because I talked about it, maybe the self-aware, but I realized that I was not the only one that feels this way. And a lot of young people today that talk about having anxiety, I always like, well, I have the same anxiety. Do you think I wasn't freaked out when I got up and had to, I speak in front of the top 500 eBay executives? I'm totally freaked out, but I've got it. I'm managing it by, pushing it forward. So talking about those insecurities is powerful.
Yeah.
And I commend you for bringing that up.
Well, thanks. Yeah. You say that about anxiety and speaking in front of people. Like I speak in front of people, it freaks me out. Like when I'm done, I'm glad that I did it. And I even look forward to doing it while it also freaks me out. And at church, sometimes I have to ask people at church to give a prayer from the pulpit or to speak from the pulpit. And most people say yes. A lot of people ghost me. And some people are like, no, I can't. I just have too much anxiety. Yeah. And I'm just like, I respect that. But at the same time, like we all do, you just got to do it. It's funny because I directly contradicted myself in this same hour. Like, I don't care what people think. I care what people think. And it's like, I do and I don't. Like, I care less in certain areas, but I think I care about what people think in an above average way. It's like, even though it's less than it used to be, it's still probably more than average. Like even some random troll comment on a Twitter post, I'll think about for the rest of the day.
I totally think about it.
Why do you care, Chris? Like this guy doesn't care about you. He doesn't even have a real profile, but it's like, I don't know. It's an insecurity and it's something I'm trying to overcome, but I think it's also good in a sense.
Yeah. It can, if you use it the right way, I think it can fuel you. And I literally, like when my first employee quit when I was young, I mean, I broke down like in tears because I was like, man, this is a really big deal that I've lost this person and they're leaving. I can't help but feel a lot, and to connect with people. And I've learned to use it as a superpower by using certain words a lot and connecting with people because it's different. And some of my suppliers, I mean, I've had people, I would call every day that I'm buying from all the time. And they'd just be like, dude, when you call, we all get excited. And it's like, really? That's cool, man. And then you're talking and you're uplifting them. And again, it sounds like a cliche, but when you lift the people up around you, it's amazing for your own sense of self-worth and helping to manage that anxiety and those insecurities that we all have. It's not an excuse. It does not make you special. It is just the way it's the human condition. So learning to manage those insecurities, man, it can make you unstoppable. Do you think I didn't feel like an utter and complete failure when I had to go home and tell my wife I'd lost $1 million because I made a bad decision? Yeah. I was ashamed deeply. But do you think that I didn't feel like a complete and utter badass when I finally paid it off? And even after I paid it back, it was probably 5 or 6 years before I could talk about it in a positive manner because I had this deep sense that I had failed and that I let so many people down and by not doing this due diligence and not making poor decisions. So I don't know how to separate myself from this and I just don't do it. But I've tried to also, I just read the Alter Ego Effect, the book. I forget the author's name, but you can look it up. And he talks a lot about being in the public and not taking those things personally. And he uses like the Kobe Bryant, the Black Mamba, that was his alter ego. Beyonce, she's like, oh, that's not me on stage. That's Sasha Fierce, this kind of stuff. And I'm just like, wow, that's great. I'm going to do that. And so I think of myself as kind of this pirate, Johnny Depp character, and I'm swashbuckling, whatever.
Just faking it. We're all faking it.
And it helps. It helps me.
Yeah,
I'm just like, well, this person doesn't know who I am. And it attracts people, I think, to your content. And I feel honored, truly, that people love to read my stuff and send me DMs and send me gifts in the mail. It's so weird, and this kind of stuff. And it's awesome. I'm having the time of my life, man.
I agree. I think there's a correlation between guys like us, and it's kind of sounded like you said this, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like I feel deeply, like I'm kind of above average sensitive as well. And maybe that comes from just like, we put ourselves out there so much. Like all these businesses, like so first of all, like one of my biggest pet peeves and fears is like being at a dinner party and someone's like, hey, Chris, tell us. And like all the eyes come on me. Like I Hate that. And my wife knows it. So she won't like call me out, even in a positive. Chris, tell him that Bucky story. And it's like, guys, stop looking at me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I go public on Twitter and I say this and I put, I had a panic attack and I put that out there. And I just put myself out there so many times. Like I go up to bat. It's like you're being on a baseball team where the coach is like, hey, Chris, you can go up to bat as many times as you want. Okay, how about every time? Like I hate it when the crowd looks at me. I hate hitting a foul ball, but I'm just going to keep going. And it just like, you think that would harden you, but I'm also just like a big softie. Like, I don't know what it is.
Same. Yeah. I love people. I use that word love all the time because I'm just like, I really love this, or I love this piece of content that I read, that it resonates with me and the people that really share, because there's different ways to get attention, right? And negative attention, certain ways, like a Huber kind of guy that's, and that's his model and that's great, but I don't want to do that. And I want to lift us all up. And I always say, cheers to your success. It's just a heartfelt thing. I want you to succeed. I feel like when the people around me go up to, I feel better about it. And the stories, you're right. At the same time, I like telling the story. I'm very self-conscious about it. And especially like I had a conversation with a guy a couple of years ago who's a billionaire, right? Just somebody in my circle of people that we know were friends. We were at a party. Super great guy, super successful. And I was telling the story about fishing and this cabin that I bought. And then I was talking about this and taking my dog to work. And he was like, dude, you have such a great life. And I was just like, what?
You're a billionaire.
I was like, why don't you take your dog to work? He's like, man, it just doesn't work. This, that, and the other thing. I'm just like, just stop, go do something else and do this kind of thing. But he was on a whole nother level of what he was achieving too. But maybe it's all of us don't recognize the great life we may already have, and you're always thinking of the grass is greener or the next thing. And my experience, like on X, has been so positive, and so the groups that I'm involved in, meeting people like you and your partner, Nick, and it's a whole new group of people I get to tell my stories to.
Yeah.
It's terrific. I love
it. There's probably a correlation between if people that you're intimidated by are likely intimidated by you as well. Right. It's like, you're a billionaire. And he's like, do you have freedom? And it's
yes. You're like, okay. That's awesome. But I love talking about this stuff. I would be glad to help anybody. Come find me on X or listen to the Business Brain.
Yeah. Where can we find you? Where are all the places?
Yeah. And on X, it's just SHANNONJEAN is my X/Twitter handle. Email me at Shannon Jean, and listen to Business Brain. If you just Google Business Brain podcast, we have 2 episodes a week. I talk to a guy that I've been in business with for 20 years that we've done a lot of deals together. And we just have conversations like this. It's a lot of fun. I love talking about it. I feel really blessed. I've had all these experiences, and now that I can sit and talk I've been talking for 2 hours. I mean, I could talk about this all day.
Yeah, same.
It's so fun.
Same. Yeah, please go listen to Shannon's podcast. He's a great guy. And I think I want to have you back on again, if you don't mind. Because
I love doing this stuff.
This is fun riffing on ideas.
It is.
Thanks for
it is. Yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yep.